Good evening, everyone. For those of you that I have not met, my name is Catherine Ellis. I'm the Vice President and Director of Operations for Delmarva Veteran Builders, Chris's partner, and really his boss. Yes, he does report to me. Just putting that out there. And I am your Master of Ceremonies for this evening's exciting event. On behalf of the Delmarva Council, Boy Scouts of America, we welcome you to this year's Lower Shore Distinguished Citizens Award reception. We also extend our heartfelt thanks to all of you who have given your time, energy, and resources to support not only tonight, but Scouting as a whole. Our invocation will now be led by Robert Nakagawa, Scout Executive for the Delmarva Council. Taking my wine.
Thank you. Thank you. Just kindly prepare yourself as you're accustomed to. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to gather this beautiful afternoon, evening to celebrate the accomplishments and the leadership that Chris provides to our communities. Thank you for the scouts, the leaders, the volunteers, the members, the friends, the family, and the colleagues that are here to help us recognize Chris for his support to the communities. Thank you for the countless blessings you bestow upon him and his family, and we ask that you continue to bless him and his endeavors as he continues to support our communities. We ask for a special blessing upon each and every one of us this evening, and ask for a special blessing upon the food, that it nourishes our bodies and gives us strength. We continue to ask for your blessing as we continue to fellowship and recognize Chris for his achievements in supporting the Salisbury community and the greater Lower Eastern Shore. We humbly ask of these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Robert. I'd like to ask the Honor Guard, comprised of Scouts from Scouts BSA Troop 817, to come forward and lead us in a presentation of the colors and the Pledge of Allegiance. Scouts.
Color Guard, attention. May you please rise for the colors. Color Guard, forward march. Color Guard, halt. May you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Color Guard, post the colors. Color Guard dismissed. You may be seated.
We have several guests here to share a few words in honor of Chris tonight. Unfortunately, Mary Beth Croze is unable to be here tonight, so at this time, I would like to ask Wicomico County Council President John Cannon up to make his presentation, along with Jeff Merritt, to make the presentation on behalf of Mary Beth Croze. And Chris, could you please come up at this time as well?
Let's hope I don't trip tonight.
All right. Let me go first. Yes, sir. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. All right. I want to make sure you all weren't asleep. So I apologize in advance. I found out about this approximately 20 minutes ago. Chris, you don't know how much of an honor this is. I've watched him grow from that to that. Like most everybody in this room, we are incredibly proud of you.
Thank you.
Incredibly, and I mean that. I am honored to read Senate Resolution number 693 on behalf of the Senate of Maryland. Be it hereby known to all that the Senate of Maryland offers its sincerest congratulations to Chris Eccleston in recognition of receiving the prestigious 2023 Lower Shore Distinguished Citizen Award by the Boy Scouts of America, Delmarva, for your outstanding community leadership, proving grit leads to greatness. The entire membership extends its best wishes on this memorable occasion and directs this resolution be presented on this 14th day of September 2023 signed by Bill Ferguson, President of the Senate, Senator Mary Beth Carrozza, and Senator Johnny Mounts. All right, somebody's got to take a picture of that thing.
Oh, yeah. Where are we taking a picture?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Come on.
A little more than that.
Come on, there was an open.
We're going to make you repeat the creed. Yeah, anybody see the award back there on the table? It's a nice award. I might have to do remedial training to be an Eagle Scout, right?
Yeah.
Get back in the uniforms? That might work, right? Only problem is that where I'd probably come to a dead halt, what is a nuclear machinist? Because I don't think I could ever accomplish that one.
High pressure plumber. High pressure.
All right. But thank you for being here. It's a pleasure, and it is a privilege to be here. Chris, you've done such great work. A lot of us in this room have witnessed it all, and it's kind of amazing. I remember when you used to come down the stairs in the plaza. You were working for Palmer, right? With him. But at the same time, he was also improving himself, and I believe you were also finished trying to get your master's, I believe, right?
I got my master's right here at SU.
Yeah, so he was doing all this. I thought, oh, this guy, he's motivated. At the time, of course, you wouldn't know where he was going to go. You have no idea on predicting things like that. But it's absolutely phenomenal to see what he's done with Delmarva Veteran Builders. And then Trash Force is really cool. I know that's what he wants it to be. Yeah, okay, Trash Force is really cool. And then the book and everything. Chris, it's just really great to see how successful you become as a business owner from the ground up, and how successful you've become as far as an individual person, how much you've succeeded, and the contributions you've made also to our community. It's fabulous to have that much energy and that much fortitude, and of course that's why we're here tonight, to recognize that. So, very good. I'm going to read this. Yeah, thank you. So on behalf of the 107,000 citizens in Wicomico County, we got their personal approval on this. It's with great pleasure that the county executive and the members of the Wicomico County Council extend this certificate of recognition to Chris Eccleston for being named the Boy Scouts of America Delmarva Council 2023 Lower Shore Distinguished Citizen. Thank you for all you have done and continue to do for our community and for your tireless work and service to the Lower Eastern Shore. Signed this 14th day of September 2023. Thank you very much. Great. Good.
Thank you, John and Jeff. At this time, I would like to invite Lee Murdoch, Scout Executive of National Capital Area, Washington, D.C., to say a few words.
Christopher David Eccleston. Where to begin in talking about my friend and your friend, Christopher David Eccleston? Well, thanks for this wonderful opportunity, Chris. In my mind, it was more of a Comedy Central roast event where you were up here. I didn't know I'd have to You want me to come get up? No, you're fine. I'll take it from here, man. So, I got a few thoughts. They're interconnected because they all relate to Chris, and a lot of great memories as I was thinking about what to share with you all about Chris. You might think that this amazing opportunity here was Chris's first professional venture in owning a company. It was not. It was not. Chris is a one-third owner of a company called LBC Productions. See, back in 1999, Chris and I worked at Richard A. Henson Scout Reservation, Camp Nanticoke, and we had this great idea that we would teach scouts first aid skills. Now, a lot of times that's a little bit dry, right? Applying pressure to wounds, bandages. You remember this, Chris? So we decided that the scouts would enjoy the opportunity to watch 3, 4, maybe 5 people completely make fools out of themselves and, in essence, harm each other for about 45 minutes and then explain what to do in said situations for first aid. I actually still have, if anybody has the technology, a VHS tape of that opportunity. One day, Chris, we're going to have to get it on a DVD. It'll be great to revisit that memory. So, there's so many things I could share about Chris. I know you'll give me the boot.
Yeah. No. Let's go. You got the floor.
All right, thank you. So, everybody here, of course, knows Chris's affinity for Bigfoot, correct? No?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff knows what I'm talking about. All right. Has anybody here, real quick, been to Richard A. Henson Scout Reservation, Camp Nanticoke? Hands up, really high. Yeah, we can clap. I get lost a little bit in the acreage. It's either 1,400, 1,600, or 1,800 acres. But I want to take you back to that wonderful summer, 1999. It was, I think, a pivotal year in my life and in Chris's life. I know this is hard to believe, but back then, in that summer, my job was to manage Chris.
It's hard.
It's like next to impossible.
Oh, my God.
And I was trying to learn and understand how to be a manager, and I was managing Chris. Anyway, so for fun, we would go into Salisbury, and we'd go to the center at Salisbury, and we'd always have dinner at
Ruby Tuesdays.
Ruby Tuesdays, of course, right? And next door to Ruby Tuesdays was a movie theater. So Chris and I, and a couple other folks, had this great idea that we were going to go check out this buzzworthy movie of the summer, The Blair Witch Project. Chris, you'll correct me, fellow Eagle Scout, you'll correct me if there's any inaccuracies in this story. And I had this story before our 10 o'clock call with John, just for the record. All right, so we go out on our night off and watch The Blair Witch Project. Everybody here remember that movie? Then we go back to camp, because that's where we lived. Now, I lived inside of a building. Chris lived out behind the building in a tent. Well, that night, you okay? That night, Chris slept on the floor next to my bed with the light on. Now, I thought that Chris was going to sleep in the building in his, not lazy boy, his catnapper chair. Because Chris and I, and Ray and I were joking about this, that we went to town, or went to Johnny Genox's to pick up a sofa for the camp staff lounge, and they were given this chair away, they're throwing it away, and Chris picked it up, and that literally was Chris's spot for the remainder of the summer. And in fact, Chris threw me for a loop. We were talking about Matt Chance. Chris doesn't remember kicking Matt Chance out of that chair almost every day. Matt, correct? All right. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. I thought you wanted me to be funny.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't know what to do with my hands. Well, I'll spare you all a bunch of jokes. You know, Chris and I had the pleasure of coming back and starting my career in the Delmarva Council in 2006, which was right around the time that Chris came back to the area. And Chris tried his best to peel me out of the woods there at Richard A. Henson Scout Reservation, and he would bring me into town. And one time, Chris had this bright idea that a way we could all rally the community, Jeff, I'm sure you'll remember this, was to build a boat out of chemical barrels. Was it the Ramblin' Raft competition? It was us.
Silver paddle.
Quest for the Silver Paddle. I think it's still hanging up in Market Street, or they take it down?
Brad has it, I think.
Oh, okay. Brad? Anyway. But that was for me a real window into Chris, because he had just moved back. I think he was going down to UMES, finishing up a degree, and he was trying to figure out how to raise money for the Holly Center. Raise money for the... How old were you, Chris?
27, 28?
27, 28. Not a lot of people are thinking about philanthropy and how they can do better for their community when they're 27 and 28, just establishing themselves in their community. Chris was. And those of you that have known Chris, you remember he was footloose, fancy free. He was known to say things like, well, who here likes Mariah Carey? Because I do. It's true. It's true. There are so many dancing stories I could tell about my friend Chris Eccleston, but I'll stop right there. In the Boy Scouts, we talk about words to live by, and we talk about the Scout Oath and Law. I was struck by 3 words that I saw as the Navy's core values: honor, courage, commitment. Those are 3 great words that I think describe this wonderful man and our friend, Chris Eccleston. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Lee. But again, you did mention courage, and he slept next to your bed, and I don't know. Just putting it out there. Up next, we have Jenny Kershrown, Creative Director for Delmarva Veteran Builders, one half of the the DVB's Blue Tape Group, and the one that forces me to do Instagram dancing posts all the time, and I look like an idiot. But most importantly, she is the co-author of Grit Leads to Greatness. Her and Chris have created this amazing book, and it's all you.
Hi, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Okay, I'm going to try to adjust that. I'm a little shorter than Catherine. Catherine, thank you for emceeing tonight. I know Chris really respects you, and you guys have a great relationship, and we're really thankful to have you at DVB. You really do an awesome job, so thank you for taking on this role. I know Chris is appreciative too. Okay, so just want to tell what I'm speaking about tonight. Chris, last week, he's brought us in the office, can you say something? And I was like, okay, I can. Now I got to think about it. So, but thank you for giving me plenty of time to think about it, a couple days. But I just want to talk about knowing Chris, my relationship with him, and kind of how, what I see of Chris, and I just want to kind of convey that to you. Chris is like a brother to me. The brother I never wanted, but, because I have 2 sisters, but anyway, but Chris, I do love you. Thank you for, we have a great relationship, so. I just want to give a little backstory of, what all this is, because I think things are connected. For me, I'm always I just feel like sometimes things are meant to be, and maybe that's a really naive and romantic way of thinking about how life works, but sometimes I like the way stories are told, and for me, it's kind of cool. But, so I'm not from Salisbury. I don't know if many of you are, but I'm not, and so I kind of came here randomly. I was living in California. I was 35 at the time, and I reconnected with an old friend that I knew from college, JD Schroen, my husband now, and he is from Salisbury, Maryland, and he was widowed, and he had 4 kids, and somehow we fell in love, and he convinced me to move to Salisbury, Maryland, and I showed up here, and I had no idea what I was doing. It's quite comical when you look back. I was like, well, why didn't anybody stop me from doing this? But nobody did. He is cute. He is cute. So I came here and, trying to get to know everybody, meet new friends, and, trying to find my way. And luckily, Brad Gillis is in the back there. Shout out to Brad. He introduced me a lot of new people in town. It was a good connection to have. And so I actually met Chris. I met Kenan, but I met Chris at an event. But that was the first time I ever met him. So over the years, I kind of saw Chris here and there. But JD and I had been talking. We're like, I really want to find my place here. I'm a graphic designer, but I just don't know where I fit in. And somehow DVB kind of came up, and Chris reached out to me and invited me to come work there. And it was kind of this moment where JD and I actually had this more this feels like something that's meant to be. And we actually prayed about it. We're like, this is we're hoping this is the right thing, and it was. So I get a little emotional about that. But okay, let me continue on. Okay. All right, so I'm at DVB, and Chris, I just, you gotta love Chris. He is a unique individual. I mean, that's the thing. You cannot not say that's not true. But what I love about Chris is that he's unpredictable and predictable at the same time. So that's the really cool thing about him. But he came up to me and said, Jenny, we're doing a mural on the side of our building that he just had purchased and we moved into. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I love art, and I was like, do you want to talk to me about it? What are you doing? And he's like, yeah, this is what we're doing. He shows me the design. I was like, I hate it, but I didn't say it to him out loud. In my mind, I was like, this is great. So anyway, I talked to JD that night. I was like, JD, I really want to talk to Chris and, tell him what I think. And JD's like, just just tell them how it is, just be, just be honest, So anyway, I composed this really long email, and I just really wanted Chris to know that we can work on this, and I just was afraid because he was my boss, But anyway, I sent the text, and luckily Chris is somebody that understood where I was coming from. It wasn't a place of, just trying to say what I felt. But anyway, it was kind of the moment. He was like, you know what, Jenny, I think you're right, let's talk about this. And that was like the moment we became friends. It's like, that was like, I moved beyond just like, I work for him as like, okay, he understands that I'm here to make, let's do something great, So anyway, worked with the artists, and we had a lot of fun. It was kind of cool because we changed it from I want to believe to just believe on the mural. And that's something that Chris is really passionate about, is the word believe. And I didn't really understand at the time, but I'm glad we just changed to that, because it's funny if you watch the show Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but Ted Lasso is all about believe. It's so funny when I watch a show. It's like, oh my gosh, that's like Chris Eccleston. Just has this like core value of just like believing in things. So anyway, so after the mural project, that kind of like set me in a place where I really felt like Chris and I could really gel and have some fun together. So next he challenged me, and this is something about Chris that's great. He challenges you to try to do things that are beyond your comfort zone, and sometimes it can be very annoying, but also at the same time it's like, okay, but the thing is, he's gonna get in the trenches with you and think about, which I appreciate. So yeah, so I got 2 years to work on a new ad campaign. We did like a tagline, Grit Leads to Greatness, and we did this whole thing where we showed all the construction workers at our company as being heroic, and I got a chance to really do a really fun, as a graphic designer, it was like a dream come true. Like, that's something you don't even do at any normal company, but Chris believes in art. He likes things out of the box, so I really appreciated that, and I was like, I'll never forget that. I really won't. So, okay, so after that, he's like, oh, hey, Jenny, let's write a children's book. And I was like, and this is like 2 years after I'd done all this hard work, and he's like, let's do a children's book. And I was like, okay. And he's like, have you heard of Wacomico Woody? And I was like, have you guys ever heard of Wacomico Woody? Have you? Yeah? Okay, I hadn't, and it was sounding weird. I was like, so apparently there's a bird in Wacomico that's the mallard type that's carved, a wood duck. Okay, did not know that, but so we did not write that book, but that's yet to be written. Maybe the next one. So Chris was like, let's write a book about construction. I said, okay, I got to think about this. And he's like, okay, what if we got a hammer? Okay, a hammer, it's at a construction site, and it's helping all these things, but then it doesn't know it's actually a hammer. So at the end, it knows it's a hammer. It's like hammer time. And I was like, and he, it's kind of halfway joking, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I can write that book with you, Chris. So, we have a laugh about it. But the thing is, Chris thought to do that in the first place. Like, that was something totally different and cool, in my opinion. So what I did is I went and sat down and thought about, what DVB was about and the tagline we already written. We're like, okay, let's write an epic children's book. And I took that to Chris, and he's a total nerd like me. Like, we're like Lord of the Rings. Let's get real deep and talk about stuff. So I was like, let's do like something where these kids like save the world, but it happens to be about construction. And Chris is like, that's it. He's like, I'm in. So we spent a lot of time, brainstorming and coming up with really great random ideas. And we started doing this book, which was so much fun. And, it was a dream come true for me. So, I was back home last summer in Kentucky where I grew up, and I found an old diary. And I was like 10 years old, and I opened it up, and it said, like, one day I want to write a children's book. And it just stopped me in my tracks. And I was like, I looked at the date, and it was kind of cool because it was like 30 years to the year that I actually wrote the book, So for me, I texted Chris, and he was like, this is something that's cool. Like, I did this, and he did it with me. And I think for him, he was just excited to see that for me as for him. So that was super cool and a really, really good memory in my life. So what's really interesting about the book, though, is we were trying to put some things about us, personally, what does Chris believe? What do I believe? What are things that make us happy and drive us in life? And, I talked about believe, and that was something that Chris was adamant about in the book. He's like, I got to put in the story that the mentors believe in the kids as they go on this journey. And so it's kind of cool because I was like, okay, well, let's figure this out. But I realized that that's something that Chris really, really believes in for himself and for others. And that's something that I see with his kids, and just it's like his inner being is that belief, and like he wants other people to succeed, and he wants to give back, and it was kind of an eye-opener for me as to like finding out who he was as a person. And one other thing that was funny is that he was so adamant about making live-action costumes out of these characters. And for me, we're writing a book, we're writing some big checks trying to get these printed. It's a lot of stuff, money's flying out the door. And Chris and I kind of went on this venture on our own. And he's like, Jenny, we got to do these costumes. And I was like, Chris, I'm scared. Like, this is a lot. Like, this is crazy. And he's just like, I want to do it. I was like, okay. So I thought about it for a bit, talked to JD again, and we realized it wasn't about the costumes. It's about like what Chris, he loves connecting with kids and seeing their faces and the joy that comes from, and it's true. When we made the costumes, we went to Hollywood. We went full tilt. We're like, let's go to Hollywood. We get the guys to do Fortnite and all this stuff. They're going to make our costumes, and we did it. But we realized that it was just the kids who see it and the reactions. It was something that Chris even said. He's like, you know what? He's like, I remember I was back in the Scouts and I used to like entertain and do stuff on the stage with kids. He said that brought the joy like back to me again, and I was like, okay, like I get it. That's why he did that, and that's why it really mattered to him. So that to me was another eye-opener for me. So I brought up this little folder here. It is the most exciting name ever. It's called the Eagle Board of Review, okay? So Chris brought this to me last week, and he said, take a look at this. I was like, okay. But what was really kind of cool is because this is like when he was applying, I guess, to be an Eagle Scout. Is that the right word I'm using? But he had to do a whole project where he raised money, and it was a fishing derby, and it was just really neat. But it's all a documentation about all the things he had to do. He had to all the receipts that he had to get, all the support and all these different things that are really, obviously these are life skills that anybody should know. And I'm like, man, I wish I would have been a part of what you did here, because that actually, I'm sure that, I know that shaped you and helped you in your future endeavors. So there's a few things real quick, and I won't be much longer, but I wanted to point out a few things that there was one section that was really cool. It was called Life, Purpose, and Ambitions Towards Life. That was like the title. And it's basically like what Chris wants to do when he gets older. And so one of the cool things was that he had started a Random Acts of Kindness Club at Bennett, which I thought was kind of cool. And it's kind of funny because Grace Murdoch, she's not here tonight, but my kids call her the Kindness Lady, but she's the Secretary of Kindness. But I just know that Chris is friends with her, and he's always been a part of like the kindness movement. And even Trash Force is title is Be Kind, Don't Talk Trash. So it's kind of funny. It's like, oh wow, that's back to Chris's core beliefs and values about kindness, which I really, really thought was cool. Another thing, he said he planned to join the Coast Guard after college. And I know there's another story beyond that, but I know you didn't join the Coast Guard, but I do know that after 9/11, you joined the Navy, and you went off and basically saved the world, Chris, I think, personally. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. But you did 3 tours overseas. He was in the military serving our country. Chris, thank you for your service. I just think that was really cool. You followed through with what you wanted, and you lived your dreams in that way. Another one has said, after the military, you want to start a small business. Well, you did that. You got DVB, we got Trash Force, lots of fun things here. And then this is really cool, and I just personally thought this was neat. And it says, I want to get married and have kids. And I just say that was a dream fulfilled for you. I don't know why I tear up for this, but anyway, Kenan, I love you too. It's such a cool thing to see, your relationship. And, when I'm with Chris, it's like, he talks about you he's so proud of you. And I think that's a really cool thing. I think with my friends and people, I wish, you always want people to have a good marriage, and to see you two, just living life, and you're working on your marriage, always striving to be better. That is something for me that's super important. I'm very happy, happy for that, and I wish the best for you guys. And Kenan, you're a saint. You're awesome. Putting up with this guy? Are you kidding me? No. No, I'm kidding, but seriously, you guys have a really great thing going, and I got to hang out with your parents a lot with writing this book, and I just feel like I'm part of the family, but seriously, I'm just glad to see, like, he's like, I want to be married and have kids, and, you know, it's just like, man, Chris, you really did, you hit the jackpot, so, and your kids, Sadie and Hale, they're not here, but they're hilarious, love them. They're a handful as well, but they're awesome. That's why they're not here, right? Kind of be running around. But, you know, like, but I know, like, you're dedicated to your kids, Chris. Like, I see it. You know, you're going to their games, you're coaching. Like, you love your kids and you believe in them. And I see, like, you're like, that's the dad you want to be, and you're that. And I love it, and I'm very proud of you for that. Anyway, a few more things and I'm done. Says he wants to provide leadership to his family, community, and friends. That was another cool thing. I was like, yes, of course. Like, that was another goal of yours, and you're doing it. And he says he wants to give back to the community as much as it is given to him. And obviously, I can say that's played out so much. I mean, Chris is always about community. That's one thing I joke about. Like, Chris, I hate, like, word community comes out of your mouth so many times. Like, can you shut it? And it's just kind of become a joke. But he really does think about the community and what it can do. Like, that's just like his focus. And I mean, the reality is that we're here for this, you know, they're honoring Chris, but it's the Boy Scouts that we're really celebrating, because the Boy Scouts really did give Chris, I mean, what I see when I read this is that it gave Chris this, like, amazing ability to not only do things in the present, but to think about the future and what you wanted for your life, you know? And I see you kids over here. I know Nathan over there. He's a friend of ours. Yeah, Nathan Volk. He actually got a snake out of my pantry. Talk about Boy Scouts coming to the rescue. I had a snake in my pantry, and Nathan came and got it out. So it's true. So, yeah, love you. Thank you. But, so, I mean, yeah. So, I mean, I think just the Boy Scouts in general, thank you all for donating to this organization. I mean, clearly you see someone like Chris and all these really great kids are coming up. Like, you all are ahead of the game. I mean, I think so. So I'm going to close with this. I wrote a message to you, Chris. Anyway, I know everybody's proud of you, and I mean, I'm proud of you, and all my friends at DVB are proud of you as well. I love that you guys are here and stuff, so I know we all think a lot about you, and we're glad, you know, to have you on our team. And anyway, I know that just, like, even things you get in, you roll up your sleeves and you help out. Like, you're not one to sit on the sidelines and ask other people to do stuff. You get in there, and that is something I notice every day. So anyway, I'm proud to know you, and I hope you enjoy this night, Chris, because it's well deserved. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jenny. And for those of you that don't know JD, he's right there. So I would travel to Salisbury for JD. I think we all kind of call him the silver fox behind his back. I don't know about you guys, but I would come here. Just saying. I did come from, you know, DC, but I came for a younger man, JD. I'm sorry. Like I'm young. Anyway. Sorry, babe. So we have another friend of Chrissy's, Chris, sorry, that would like to share a few words. John McClellan, please join us on stage, and, you know, you can roast. I'm okay with it.
So personally, I think JD outkicked the coverage. I'm just going to say that. So when we came tonight, she said, "I'm ready for a roast. How about you?" I came with some somewhat sincere comments. So I'm not saying I'm going to tell something that isn't going to be fun and embarrassing, but overall, I try to do something a little serious. So if I take that away from your fun, sorry about that. But I think it's an honor to share Chris's recognition tonight and talk about, you know, what he's done for our community, for his company, for his family. Echo everything that's been said here tonight. I was wondering about what Lee was going to talk about, because when we were on, Lee and I were going to talk, so we didn't tell the same stories. I was talking to Lee down the street. Here comes Chris walking up the street. So we managed to have a little conference, and he says, "I can't wait to tell the story about how Chris and I slept together." Wait, what? So He clarified exactly the background behind that story. And we all know Chris is scared of ghosts and witches and whatever else. Turn the lights on. Anyway, Chris must know I'm a salesman because he gave me exactly maybe less than 6 days to put this together. And like a last-minute planner that I usually am, I took about 6 hours to put this together, so you get what you get. But I first met Chris around 2007, shortly after he came back here from the Navy. He was recently out. I was a scoutmaster at Troop 817, gentlemen. I was looking for an Eagle Scout, a graduate, somebody who'd kind of been through some things, so to speak, to come back and inspire the Scouts. And he had these boys in awe. He's told me this story since, and if you ever have a chance to have him tell it to you, we all just remembered 9/11. I think Lee said or somebody said he joined the Navy after 9/11. He was in the Navy. But he was in the, what'd you call it, the high-pressure plumbing room? On shore leave in Norfolk. Half the crew was off gallivanting, doing whatever. I guess it was his time and the order came down from the bridge that said, prepare to depart, or prepare to, what do they call it? Prepare to leave. Excuse me? Wait a minute. Half the crew isn't here. You don't just turn the ignition and start a nuclear reactor. It takes a little time. But the thing that Chris told me that just to this day, I mean, I'm getting chills right now, that call came down from the bridge between the first and second airplanes into the towers. So you don't think the government knew what we were under attack for? Thank you, Chris, for being there. And they did depart. Have him tell you the whole story. He can tell it a whole lot better, but how many days did it take you to get out, like prepare?
We left on the 18th.
So still took 7 days to start the engines. So next time you complain about your battery in your Ford, but anyway, he had those boys in awe. They really looked up to him, and he really was, as Jenny said, he wanted to connect with those kids. I mean, my son was one of them who was probably, 14 at the time, something like that. He really connected with them. So I applaud you for doing what you did. I asked people tonight, I asked several people, give me a word that describes Chris. Tell me what you would describe him. Not surprisingly, several of the people had the exact same word. And I think many of you tonight would agree some of these words. He's an innovative, big idea guy. Jenny says he has too many big ideas, and then he says go solve them. But who else would have Rosie the Riveter in their construction company ads? How many contractors write a children's book? Not many. So big ideas, big impact. He's an outside-the-box thinker. You ever been by his construction site? What's out front of most of his construction sites? The Deuce, big green military Deuce that was used in battle somewhere. He's committed. His whole company is based on recognizing and understanding the commitment that our veterans served in our country. Even the Pentagon recognized him. If you don't know that Chris was recognized a few years back at a ceremony at the Pentagon for his service to veterans. I mean, that's something that not a lot of us can say we were involved in. We've heard about community. I know it's Jenny's favorite word, but Chris spells a little different. Have you ever seen it? Unity. Because he's all about making unity and making a difference in our community. Just a couple quick things. I mean, his company offers these Endeavor grants. Facebook will tell you a lot of things if you do a little research. But these community grants, these Endeavor grants, where he's giving money to the Epoch Dream Center and other organizations that impact our community in a very positive way. And he should be applauded for that. Chris serves more organizations and been involved, past president of the Chamber of Commerce, involved in just tons of organizations. Chris is clearly tenacious. He wants to push through to victory. In his mid-20s, one of his friends quoted that shortly after he got out of college, he suggested that despite there being a long-term organization in Salisbury called the Greater Salisbury Committee, Chris was going to form the greatest Salisbury Committee because he was going to do it even better. And is that wrong? I won't call out the person.
After a few beers.
Well, hey, liquid wisdom. Chris, nobody can question he's a man of high character and integrity and does what he says he's going to do. He's confident. One of the people I talk with says he's not afraid to ask anyone to do business with him. He's a brand new Delmarva Veteran Builders. One of his first contracts says, "Hey, will you do business with me? Will you hire me?" Well, having a brand new contractor call you and say, "I think I know what a hammer is, but would you hire me to do this couple $100,000 job?" But he did it fantastically, and the guy still raves about what a great job it was. He's clearly a busy person, multitasker. Name the titles. Several of you have talked about him. Hubby, dad, coach, scout leader, entrepreneur, author, boss, friend. You could probably all name 4 or 5 more types of leaders, types of titles that Chris wears every day. This one made me chuckle. He's fun and he's goofy. Can I get an amen? But this one I can relate to because I don't know all there is to know about this story, about Blair Witch Project, about sleeping in cabins and sleeping in tents. But 7 or 8 years ago, I guess it was 2015, they had the 50th anniversary of the Henson Scout Reservation. Big reunion. Chris and I went. He knows exactly where I'm going. But they had a big reunion, and I was a former Scoutmaster, so I wanted to go and just kind of see and celebrate everything that was going on. We were walking through one of the camp trails, and we ran into a gentleman by the name of Bob Bramble. Anybody know who Bob Bramble is? Everybody in the Scouts, Ray Tito raises, he knows very well who Bob Bramble is. He's the long-term cook, food service director, whatever you want to call him. He provided the food. My son actually worked for him on his 1 year at Henson. Impacted a lot of kids. He was talking to me. I had been a couple of years since I'd been Scoutmaster, been there, talking to him a little bit. Bob was known for wearing orange Crocs. Always wore orange Crocs. In fact, about 3 or 4 years ago, I saw him in Easton at a festival. What was he wearing? Orange Crocs. I don't know whether he has anything else to wear or not. But the funny thing was, we were talking, and Chris was just saying, "Hey, Bob, how you doing?" Bob kind of looked at him like, "I kind of know you." But I said, "Bob, you remember Chris Eccleston?" He stepped back. He said, "Chris." Just said Chris. And there was obviously volumes of stories about Blair Witch Project and other assorted adventures buried in that. But yeah, Chris had some adventures. And that's all I know. I don't know anything else. His former Scoutmaster commented, "It was clear that Chris was going to be an Eagle Scout. He had all the tools and the character. He just took a little longer to get there. Like my experience with him, the younger boys were in awe of him, even back in 1999 with some of the younger guys in the troop, because he took a little longer. He was a little older." Another Chris descriptions of him that the Scoutmaster shared was he isn't afraid to speak his mind. Yes. And Chris pretty much spoke his mind when he was preparing to get his Eagle Scout Award. Now, most boys would be like, yeah, okay, that's great. He goes, "Don't you give me something with Bill Clinton's name on it." So he pretty well spoke his mind. But as we all reflect on the fantastic impact that Chris has had on his family, his community, and his company, I think his book title and the company motto of "Grit Leads to Greatness," as we've all heard about, is a very fitting description for how Chris approaches life, knowing that a dogged determination to dig down deep, to push through any challenge, is the only way to overcome challenges and achieve greatness. As we all know, the mission of DVB is to honor the sacrifice and service that our veterans made by serving our country and by recognizing them and providing a clear path to their own personal greatness in their lives by being associated with DVB. As I close, I want to ask that you oblige me for, I've got a 5-minute video. Apologize, but I think it's not, I didn't make it. Trust me, this is your video. It's not a 5-minute video of Chris. But it was the original launch to his marketing campaign, Grit Leads to Greatness. And I think it really tells us the grit of the prior generation, of the greatest generation, and how they impacted all of us and led lessons to Chris to give us all the privilege and the freedoms to sit here tonight. So enjoy this video with me. Shayna, if you can, hopefully technology is going to work.
this broadcast bring you this important bulletin from the United Press.
Destiny to attack Pearl Harbor, Hawaii by air, President Roosevelt has just announced. The attack also was made on all naval and military activities on the principal island of Oahu.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
War is approaching the brink of the Western Hemisphere itself. It is coming very close to home. We are now in this war. We're all in it, all the way. Every single man, woman, and child, the partner, the most tremendous undertaking of our American history. We must share together the bad news and the good news, the defeats and the victories, the changing fortunes of war. I have tonight issued a proclamation that an unlimited national emergency exists and requires the strengthening of our defense to the extreme limit of our national power and authority.
Lead them straight and true. Give strength to their arms, stoutness to their hearts.
all in it, all the way.
Hope I didn't depress anybody, but there were certainly some bad memories there, but I think it demonstrates Chris and his commitment to dig through the grit of all the challenges and come out on the other side. And we're all blessed to have him as a friend, as a community leader, as a father. And thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you, John. I love that video. Good job, Jenny and Chris. Now I'd like to ask Robert Naka. See, I told you I was going to do this. Scout Executive of the Delmarva Council, Boy Scouts of America, come forward and provide us with the scouting update.
Thank you. It is an exciting time to be a scout. We have overcome a lot of challenges, so we also have grit. Just coming out of a bankruptcy, Netflix documentary, but if you had a chance to see it, I can't say I recommend it. However, that being the case, the reality is that is why we believe we're the safest organization today, is because of the past, the history that we've had. Scouting today is safer now than it's ever been before because of our youth protection policies and our barriers to abuse. And we are now serving kids that I never thought we'd be serving. And all demographics, all age groups, whatnot. But what I say that is, since 2019, we now serve young women with all of our programs. We have Eagle Scouts that are young ladies that are earning the Eagle Scout rank. And it's the timeless values that the Boy Scouts of America has, that we've never changed, and the values of the Scout Oath and Law. And that is what our mission is. And I can't tell you how proud I am to hear the testament from Chris's friends on his life. But if you listen to his life and the things that he's done, from fundraising at the age of 27 to support the community and giving back and all that he represents, he's a proud example for me of our organization as an Eagle Scout of what the Boy Scouts of America stand for. The values of the Scout Oath and Law, they're timeless values like what you've seen on the video that you just seen here. And that's what we represent. And as a byproduct of them going through camping and all the experiences they have learning leadership by planning a camp out, that these young men are learning at age 11 is project management. Leadership is a practice skill. He's been practicing for a long time in scouting. It's no wonder he's as successful as he is today, but how he just embodies the spirit of community service, on giving back, helping other people. True testament and product of our program, which really proud of. Famous actor once said, the biggest problem with the Boy Scouts of America is there just aren't enough of them. We serve young men and young women today, and I think you will all agree we need more scouts we need more scouts, but we need more Chris Ecclestons. And if we had more scouts, we could potentially get more Chris Ecclestons with the Eagle Scout projects that you hear that these young men do that shape them into becoming better Americans, better citizens for our community. And that's my goal. And you've seen it on there as well, to leave better than we found it. And we learned that as a scout. Every time we go on a camp out, we always leave wherever we went cleaner than we found it. And that's my goal as an executive for the Delmarva Council. You know, we've survived COVID, we survived the bankruptcy. We're now serving about 4,500 kids, a lot less than we did pre-COVID. But we had 10.6% membership growth last year, so we led the area in membership growth. We're already membership growth over last year at this time, and we believe we're going to end with hopefully another 10% membership growth this year. But all of that is so that we can leave the Delmarva Council and the Delmarva community better than we found it. We don't teach politics, we teach kids civics, teach them to be friendly, courteous, kind. And if we were all to live by those values from Washington, D.C. to every day, what kind of community would we be all living in today? Wouldn't we all want our neighbors, our communities, our coworkers to live by the values of the Scout Oath and Law, to live by the values that DVB has? And that's what scouting is about. So if this is the first time you're exposed to us as an organization, I encourage you to get involved with us, get to find out more. But as important, encourage our youth to be a part of this program because it prepares them for life and it teaches timeless values. We don't see as much volunteerism today, but Scouting does a great job in teaching kids to give back to the community in service projects. And again, that's a practice skill. We need to start young. So help me advocate for our organization to get more young men and young women in this program so we can all make the Delmarva Peninsula a better place. Thank you, Chris, for the example you set, the role model you are for us as an organization, for the leadership you provide, and for partnering with us to help us raise necessary funds so we can serve more kids. And thank you all for being here to support Chris. What an exciting opportunity. And again, just thank you for being here to support us and to support Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. In Scouting, there is no higher rank than Eagle. Nationwide, being an Eagle Scout is really a rare honor. It's probably the only thing a young person can do as a teenager that they can also keep putting on their resume for the rest of their life. It is notable that Eagle Scouts represent 10% of service academy populations. Eagle Scouts have had a profound impact on American history, no question, and will play a lasting role in our country's future. Would all of the Eagle Scouts in the room please stand? Let's give them all a round of applause. This evening, we have a young person with us who has earned the rank of Eagle Scout. I am very pleased to introduce to you one of the Tri-County District's finest young men, Eagle Scout Owen Hopkins. Owen, would you please join me at the podium?
Good evening. My name is Owen Hopkins. I'm an Eagle Scout from Troop 149 at Bethesda United Methodist Church in Salisbury. I am honored to be here tonight and to have been selected by Mr. Ryan Teat from the Boy Scout Delmarva Council to speak to you about my scouting career. I first joined Scouts at the beginning of 4th grade. After completing 2 years of Cub Scouts and earning my Arrow of Light, I was so excited to cross over to Boy Scouts. I was ready to conquer a new adventure in scouting, and little did I know that one day I would be one of only 4% of Boy Scouts who earned the Eagle rank. Scouting has helped me in so many ways, including making new friends, going away from home on May campouts, trying new activities like skiing, kayaking, and canoeing, and learning skills such as knot tying, cooking, and first aid, and becoming a leader. These skills are essential not only in scouting, but in the real world. Boy Scouts has really helped me be prepared for my future as an adult. While I was the senior patrol leader for my Boy Scout troop, I learned not only how to be a leader, but I also gained confidence in myself and in being a good leader. It was difficult at times to keep all my fellow Scouts focused and on task, but that made me learn better communication skills. As a senior patrol leader, I had a lot of responsibilities, tasks, and commitments, which was difficult to juggle during my busy senior year in high school. However, that taught me to have better time management skills, so I was able to prepare for meetings, campouts, Court of Honors, and other troop activities, while maintaining honor roll grades in school, playing trumpet in the school band, working part-time, and completing my Eagle Scout project. Becoming an Eagle Scout was not easy. During my 6 years as a Boy Scout, I had to earn the first 6 ranks leading up to the Eagle Scout rank. In addition to completing 39 merit badge classes and many hours of community service. However, the hardest part was completing my Eagle Scout project, which required a large amount of time to develop the project idea, complete a written packet to design, plan, price, and budget the project, requesting donations to obtain materials needed, shopping for materials, gathering tools needed, a lot of communication, and numerous meetings to obtain approval throughout the various project stages. My Eagle Scout project began last October. It consisted of creating a circular fire pit out of concrete fire blocks and curved landscaping bricks with a black granite cap etched with the Scout oath on one of the youth group camping sites at Trap Pond State Park in Laurel, Delaware. In addition, we also constructed and installed 3 long wooden benches for the disc golf course at Trap Pond State Park. Thanks to the help of my fellow troop scouts and my leaders, my project was very successful. I have visited the site to check on the fire pit many times since I completed it, and it is holding up very well. Currently, I am looking forward to having my Eagle Scout ceremony at the end of October, and right now I am attending Delaware Tech in Georgetown, Delaware. I am taking 2 years of general science studies, then will transfer those credits here to Salisbury University to major in meteorology. It has been my dream to be a meteorologist and study the weather since I was 7 years old. And that year, Hurricane Sandy roared ashore in New Jersey in late October 2012. On the peninsula, we felt the impact. I just remember watching outside as the wind was howling and the rain was pouring down. And I was just amazed by the damage that the storm caused. That began my strong interest in the weather. Later, I enjoyed learning that Hurricane Sandy took an unusual northwestward turn into New Jersey and why that happened. I still love everything about the weather and study it daily. Being a Boy Scout has taught me the Scout motto, be prepared. I look forward to helping people and communities be prepared for important weather conditions during my future career. Thank you for your time and good night.
Thank you, Owen. It has been a pleasure of mine to be a part of a group of committee members that have been working diligently, organizing and raising funds to make this evening possible. I would like to thank them publicly for their superb leadership on this event. I would like them all to please stand if they are present as I call their names to be recognized. Joe Gass, Chairman of the committee, Randy Day, Wesley Cox, Kenan Eccleston, Zach Evans, Tunny Ensley, Brad Gillis, I know I saw you, there you are, Jared Bernstein, Jenny Schroen. Thank you all. I would also like to take a second to thank Shana Adkins, Development Director of Delmarva Council Boy Scouts of America, for helping lead and organize this event and these individuals that we just announced. So Shana, if you could please stand. Thank you. As you know, an event like this would not be possible without the support and generous donors who help underwrite our costs and help us raise revenue for scouting programs. I am proud to share that through this event, the honoring of Chris Eccleston, nearly $60,000 has been contributed to Delmarva Council, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Now I'm going to change the script. I did write it, though. Additionally, at this time, I believe we can raise a little bit more money by auctioning off Chris, or rather, his ugly hair. Because I want to get rid of it. So, the bidding can start at $500. Do I have any takers? Oh no, we're cutting this off. It's on Instagram, Facebook, JD's filming it. We're posting this and it is everywhere.
What do you get for $500?
Oh, you can cut it off. For $500, you can snip it all off.
My wife Sandy would love to.
Yeah, me too. So I'm bidding too.
$500.
500? Okay. Do I hear it? 600? Any more?
You're doing it now. She's not.
I don't know if Kenan would let me do that, but I'll do it tomorrow.
We're going out of town.
I'll do it in the morning. Do I hear 1,000? 700? 800? I'm going 1,000 because I want this gone. 1,500. Anyone else? 1,500. Okay, it is sold. And Shana, I'll be writing you a check for 1,500 tomorrow. And everyone keep your eyes out on Instagram and Facebook for Delmarva Veteran Builders, as we will be posting this and filming it as we kick this midlife crisis to the curb. I think Kennan's in agreement with me. We need to get rid of this thing.
How far does it go down?
No, we're going back to the old Chris where I can take him in front of clients. Yeah, it'll be like you, Palmer. We're fined, right?
This is not military.
We're not going to go all the way military. We got to still cover stuff. But I love you, Chris. I do. I would like to thank our sponsors who have given so much to help make this happen. For a complete list of sponsors, please take a look and time to review the pamphlets that you received this evening as you came in, and the slideshow presentation following the ceremony. And now, for the reason we are all here tonight, someone very special to Chris would like to say a few words. At this time, I would like to welcome Chris's beautiful wife and much, much, much better half, Kennan Eccleston, to the stage.
Thank you, Catherine. I really promise I had no idea this was happening. I had no idea. Gosh, I'm sorry. My name is Kennan Eccleston, and I'm the wife of the gentleman we're celebrating tonight, Chris Eccleston. I'm honored to be here, and I'm just so thankful for all of you here tonight. I mostly work in the background these days, so it's been a while since I've been in front of a microphone, so you'll have to excuse me. I'm a little rusty. But I want to thank you again for your support, everyone for being here. Thank you for your support of Chris, for your support of the Scouts, and of course Shayna and the whole committee. And Catherine, thank you for doing this tonight. Now, we know Chris was an Eagle Scout. I promise I wouldn't embarrass him, so I'm going to try to be good, but an honor for which he's very proud, and he should be. Congratulations, Owen. That's awesome. Of course, yeah. That's awesome. And Chris is so proud that he was an Eagle Scout. Of course, he was sure to inform me of this on our first date. As you can imagine. I must have been impressed, I guess, because here we are today. Years later, two children later, Hale and Sadie, and I am actually, he can attest to this, I'm constantly telling our children, go ask Daddy, he'll know, he's an Eagle Scout. That always happens. So when I learned that Chris was to be honored, and of course, if you know me in the back there, you will know that I do enjoy a good celebration. So I was so thrilled to learn, obviously, that Chris was going to be honored with this award this year. I was thrilled for him. And of course, many of you know him through his work, which has been talked about tonight, and with the community, his passion for the arts, DVB, Grit Leads to Greatness, the list goes on and on and on. This man certainly does not want for vision or projects to be involved. But you may not be aware of the dedication that he has to his family, to his children, Hale and Sadie, and to me. No matter what he has going on, which could be any plethora of projects or issues or stressors, he makes it a point to be home for dinner and family time. And on top of his already overloaded work schedule, he's supporting the kids' activity, he's supporting me in whatever I'm doing. And for example, right now he's coaching Hale's football team, and he scheduled a practice for tonight. It's like, no, honey, we're busy. Oh, it cracks me up. Okay. baseball, I mean, all the things for the children. He's involved. Of course, the Cub Scouts, Hales in the Cub Scouts. And hopefully, one day he's going to make Eagle like his daddy. Hopefully. Fingers crossed. Chris is truly unbelievable. He's an unbelievable human being, and I'm just exhausted thinking about everything he does every day, and I tell him that on a daily basis. So I just want to thank you all for recognizing him, for being here tonight. It means so much to me. It means so much to him. And in my humble opinion, there's no one more deserving than you, babe. So I'd like to introduce him. May I now introduce you to the Boy Scouts of America Delmarva Council 2023 Lower Shore Distinguished Citizen, my husband, and one and only, Chris Eccleston.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Oh, shake hands, take a picture. I'll get in between you guys.
Another photo op is coming, everyone.
All right. Good.
I'm going to go off script. I'm going to go off script too. Chris, we know how important it was to you that that trophy be bigger than Brad's.
Yes. I specifically asked for that.
But we also want to make sure that you got something that Brad didn't. And you have to wear this the whole time.
Yeah, it'll fit better when I don't have hair, right? Thank you, Ray. Lee, anybody that worked at Boy Scout camp with me knows how important this hat is to me, so thank you. Nice surprise. At one point in my life, I wanted to be a camp director, but I didn't make it as a professional scout. I was only a scout at scout camp for 4 years, and every year I should have been fired for multiple and various reasons. But Jenny spoke so eloquently earlier about believe. You know, my scouting career, the whole time, people kept believing in me, even kind of when I didn't believe in myself, and that's a testament to the Boy Scouts, and that's why it's so important to me. So, anyway. Thank you all for being here tonight. I appreciate it. It means the world to me. I want to thank Salisbury University for hosting in this building. Some of you know, some of you don't. This was actually one of our first projects that we got. It was, I think it was a $3.5 million project that we got, and this was our springboard. This was, you know, the project that made it happen. We actually delivered a lot of the ceilings and the floors and the patio out there. We had the general trades package on this job, and this allowed us to go out and hire all the veterans. And one great story coming out of here was Trey. I remember he had just gotten back from deployment. He was sitting at home, not doing much, trying to figure out what he was going to do. And I said, hey man, I'm really in a jam over here. I just signed this contract, and I don't have anybody that works at DVB, so do you mind coming to work for me? And he's like, well, I don't know anything about construction. I said, don't worry about that. That's good. Just need you to show up and carry stuff around. And so anyway, he did. We had a crew of characters here at the time. And Trey went on, he got his inspiration here working with all these guys that had PTSD and TPI and all the different types of things from combat. And he left DVB and went to get his residency program. He got his doctorate in psychology, and now he works with veterans every day. So that happened right here in this building, probably in this room. So I want to thank all the members of the event committee for putting this together, $60,000 for scouting. That's awesome. Give them a round of applause. I want to thank my wife, Lee, Ray. I hate when I start naming names because I always forget. Jenny, and somebody else spoke and I already forgot. John. I suck.
Thanks for playing that video. And I want to thank the Boy Scouts for the honor and the recognition here tonight. So thank you. And let's give Owen another round of applause. And Team DBB for being here, my family, everybody. Thank you. So I will take this off just so I can kind of be a little serious. We are at Salisbury University. I'll be brief because I know the Orioles are playing tonight. And they're going to win pennant race. So I thought, okay, we're at a university. What do we talk about and discuss at universities? And case study came to mind. That's where I got my MBA. They did a lot of case studies on different businesses. So I thought I would do a couple of them that you might have heard of, and talk about the return on investment as business people and community leaders. That's something we always look at, or if you're in the nonprofit world, we look on return on impact. So here's my case study. In 1998, Paul Martin, the great Paul Martin, was the recipient of this award. And there was probably a group of people like this, and they got in a room somewhere, and they talked about all the great things that he did, and they raised some money for scouting. And that was the year that I had just finished my Eagle Scout project, and I was about to become an Eagle Scout. So the first company I'll talk about is Delmarva Veteran Builders. It's a great company, by the way. Great people. And the guy who actually, I think, kind of runs it's not bad either. Anyway, we started a program in 2018 called Vets Giving. And Vets Giving is something we do the week before Thanksgiving every year. So our staff comes together. We buy Thanksgiving dinners. We've never taken any donations for the project. We've been doing it for almost 8 years now. So, and the week before, we have all the kids and the family members come together, and they draw decorations and all that kind of stuff. And then we take the Friday before Thanksgiving and we go around and we deliver Thanksgiving meals to low-income veterans and their families. So we work with the Maryland Department of Veteran Affairs and the Department of Veteran Affairs. We have started getting into Delaware. It's usually about 50 to 60 homes every year, but I think one of the coolest things for me is that every year somebody different in the office has run this program. And this is like a different Eagle Scout project for somebody in the office. And they learn project management, they have to plan, they have to coordinate, they even set routes. And we pair up and do it. And that's a pretty cool program. So that's what it is. Why do we do it? Well, I'm gonna tell you a story about two scouts. One of them we'll just call Chris, okay? And he was this young guy, and this other scout named Matt, not Matt Chance, but Matt Chance, and we'll just make up a troop name 817, okay, in Salisbury, Maryland. Totally made up, okay? And anyway, Matt brought Chris this box of windproof matches. And Chris was a pyro. If any of you don't know what a pyro is, that's imagine Tim the Toolman Taylor going, build fire, or Tom Hanks in Castaway if I build fire. Anyway, so windproof matches. Chris had never heard of such a thing. And he was in awe as a pyro, right? So Chris decided, well, I should try these windproof matches because I don't believe they're gonna work. And I'm going to light a windproof match. So I did. And then as matches do, they burn. And they burn down the stick and then onto your fingers if you're holding it. And I started shaking a match. Chris, sorry. Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Brad. Chris started shaking his hand like this, and it wouldn't go out because it's a windproof match. So I proceeded to drop the match like like Chris would do. And so anyway, what I didn't tell you was I was inside a building that was at the Elks Lodge, They had just renovated. They had painted the building. They had put new floors down. They had put new ceilings on. They had all new. It's funny, I'm in construction now. They had totally renovated that space, and they had a giant quarter or $50 size burn mark in their new carpet. And that was another time I should have been kicked out of the Scouts, but I was not. Chris was not. What ended up happening was Chris had to go before the board of directors. And I had to go deliver Thanksgiving meals the day of Thanksgiving. And I saw a whole different side of the way people lived. And anyway, that had a profound impact on me. So anyway, we've been doing it for 8 years. Quick contractor math, it's like magic, okay? You just make up numbers. 20 people every year, 50 to 60 people served. Over the 5 years, we'll just call it roughly 1,000, okay? Just bear with me, okay? 1,000 people impact, all right? So the next company we'll talk about is Trash Force, case study on this, okay? Summer camp. Now, a couple years ago, we formed a partnership with the Village of Hope, and we started sending kids to summer camp. And I normally would not show that, and I wouldn't ask people to write thank you notes until I read a book. And some of the staff members at DVB will tell you they hate my book collection, because anytime I read a book and it has an impact on me, I then want to go create something really cool and implement it into the company, and that's annoying and exhausting. So, or a podcast, yeah, or a podcast, there you go. Yeah. So anyway, I read this book called Power of Moments, okay? And in the Power of Moments, they talk about 4 ways to create a moment: elevation, insight, pride, and connection. So, but the basis of the book, and there was a case study in the book that they talked about, there was a teacher, and this group had formed a nonprofit, and they required everybody to write a thank you note that was receiving money. And it went on scale, and the reason they did that is because they wanted children to believe that there were people behind them that they didn't know that believed in them. And that meant something to me. So that's what we started doing. I'll just make an aspirational statement. I hope we become one of the largest summer camp providers, I don't know the right word, for kids as we continue to grow the business. So in 2 years, roughly 15 to 20 children, okay? Next company or book I'll talk about is Great Leads to Greatness, and Jenny did a great job. Let's give her a round of applause. She's very modest. She's actually has been asked to be the keynote and the MC for the New Mexico Women's in Construction groundbreaking conference in March of 2024. The New Mexico governor will be there. So this is a big moment. I'm really proud of her and really happy for her. So this is something we started a couple years ago. It's been a really fun project, really passionate. And for those of you that don't know, our industry, the construction industry, is in crisis. We face a 650,000 person worker shortage. That didn't sound right, but anyway. And I didn't make that up. Quick sidebar, I was given a talk one time at a project up in Delaware, and Senator Carper was there, and I was kind of started going off and off and off, and I said, we are the fastest growing business on the Eastern Shore. And he said, how'd you come up with that? And I was like, oh shit. I said, well, Senator, I just made it up. And the media was there, and he laughed. But that was part of the reason why we went and got that Inc. 5,000 thing, because I wanted to go prove to the senator I wasn't making things up. So, and I saw him 2 years later and reminded him. He had forgotten, but I didn't. Anyway, That's a real stat from ABC, Associated Builders and Contractors. Sorry, I got off topic here. Mason the Mason, I got to be Mason the Mason, he's back there. We wanted to make construction heroic, okay? And we wanted to celebrate, people in the trades really feel like for decades the education system has pushed children to college, and there's nothing wrong with college, I went to college, but the trades are left behind, and now we're all dealing with the consequences of it. And it's not just the construction trades, it's anything related to the infrastructure and everything that we depend on. We all live in I'm not getting on a tangent, but it's a big problem, it's a national problem, and contractors love to talk. So Jenny and I decided to act, and we wrote a book. Okay, and we wanted to make construction heroic. We created these fantastic characters, and they represent each trade, and it's just been a really fun thing. And we even are, this October, so we did in March, we had 50 companies step up. We were in about 60 classrooms. Thank you, Dr. Stafford. We were in 5 schools in 2 days. It was exhausting, but we were in front of about 1,500 kids this October. And I told them when I met with them last year, and they were like, "You're crazy, Chris. This is a big idea, but we're going to go for it." I said, "This is going to be a national model." And Jenny and I, in October, for Careers in Construction Month, we'll have events happening in California, Florida, New Mexico, Virginia, Maryland, and maybe Delaware, and perhaps Vermont. And we are getting we're getting contractors in the classroom. One of the most beautiful moments I've ever seen. Gosh, that sounded like Trump. It was a great day in my career. That didn't even sound like that. It was amazing. The guys and the men and women in the classroom, number one, they came out of the classroom in public schools and they said, "Wow, I'm impressed." And that message doesn't get out nearly as much as it should. And they said how well behaved they were, how interested they were, how many questions they asked. And some of you in this room went and read these books in the classrooms. And it was amazing. And I've never seen the pride for our industry on display like I saw that day. And that was all I needed to make this a national thing. And we're going to give them hell, right, Jenny? So anyway, we've created a partnership with NCCR, which is a national construction credentialing program. And what they're working on is a junior credentialer, like junior builder, junior constructor. It'll be a certificate. I'm pushing very hard that they get a badge that they get. Boy Scouts. I forgot. Summer camp. I worked at summer camp for 4 years, okay? It was great memories for me. DVB, I told the story of how the Scouts, and then this book. So Friday night at Scout Camp was campfire night, and I loved that. And as a young man, I thought it was about me, and I was having a great time, and they're laughing back there because they know it's true, okay? I love the attention. I love getting the crowd excited and having the laughs and all that stuff. But what I didn't realize until I got older was we were creating memories. So throughout the week, kids would come up. Some would even ask to take our picture or an autograph, and that meant the world to me. And some even adults, they wanted to talk and all that kind of stuff. But really what it was creating memories. And when I got to walk into that school auditorium, it was about 200 kids in the costume. They didn't know it was me. And I heard the oohs and the ahs, and they ran up, and I mean, it was like Disney World, and it was a testament to Scouts. So we were in front of about 2,000 kids. There were other administrators, school people, all that stuff. We're going to be in front of about another 2,000. So roughly, we're saying 5,000 to 7,000. Okay, so I'm going to use the term 8,000 people through all this stuff. Okay, and in business, you talk about compounding effect. Okay, And that is really used in finance, but it's also used in business, and it's also used in nonprofits, and it should be used in community involvement. But that's waking up and doing the same thing over and over again, and after many years, the compounding effect has a big impact. Now, I did look this up, okay? Google says, and I don't know if it's true or not, but it was on Google. It says the average person will meet 10,000 people in their life, okay? So, if you take the 8,000 people that have exposure from the scouting and the different businesses that we're talking about here tonight, and you use 10,000 people in their life, that's about 80 million people, okay? That's true. It's math. I did it before I got here. John Maxwell, okay? He's a great leadership guy, so young kids over there, read the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It'll change your life. He talks about the rule of thirds. A third of the people are going to like what you have to say. A third of the people are going to hate what you have to say. A third of people are not going to care, kind of just like this speech. So if you discount it, we'll just say 25 million people. So I'm one of those Eagle Scouts from 1999. There were about 250 Eagle Scouts coming out of the Delmarva Council at that time. So think of the compounding effect that had, and the impact that one scout had, and what we were able to do. So tonight, my hope, and the $60,000 that we raise for the Eagle Scouts of 2023 and those about to become Eagle Scouts in 2024 have a profound impact. I believe as the world, with the rise of technology, the world population is going to double in the next 10 years. There'll be more people, there'll be more impact. The world's getting closer with technology, and scouting is going to become more and more important. And the young people tonight, it's time for them to go create powerful moments, and it's time for them to go change the world. So thank you. Good night. Let's go O's.
Thank you, Chris. I know we are all proud and pleased to honor Chris this evening. I'm still a little remiss as to why we are celebrating him when he did light a building on fire and he still got his Eagle Scout badge. So I don't know how you guys organize the Boy Scouts. Might want to rethink about it. Anyway. On behalf of the Delmarva Council and nearly 5,000 boys and girls who are members and participants in scouting on the Delmarva Peninsula, thank you for attending this evening. And officially, good night to all. Thanks again, and safe travels home.